I'm Assistant Sheriff Chris Jones, and I'm here to give you a few details on last night's officer-involved shooting. Before I get into those details, I want to give you a brief update on our officer who was shot last night. Sheriff Lombardo briefed last night, referenced our officer who was shot while serving this community. That officer is identified as 29-year-old Shay Michelanis. Officer Michelanis has been with LVMPD for 4 years and is assigned to the Convention Center Area Command. His condition remains unchanged from last night. He is still in grave condition on life support. Our thoughts and prayers are with him and his family, and we ask that yours be as well. Reference the officer-involved shooting. Ordinarily, we do not brief on officer-involved shootings until 72 hours later. However, we're not in ordinary times. We felt it was important to come to you today and give you a few details of the event. Last night, just after 11 p.m., a large crowd had formed near the 300 block of Las Vegas Boulevard South. This is right next to the federal courthouse on Las Vegas Boulevard. Individuals within the crowd were becoming rowdy, and an order to disperse was given by officers. Shortly afterwards, the majority of the crowd dispersed, traveling southbound on Las Vegas Boulevard. A few individuals did remain. One of those individuals has been identified as George Jorge Gomez. He's a 25-year-old Hispanic male, 180 pounds. Mr. Gomez was armed with 2 Glock pistols and a 3rd Glock pistol that was inserted into a carbine conversion kit. Mr. Gomez began to walk toward officers who were staged on the steps of the federal courthouse, clearly ignoring the order to disperse. One Metro officer observed Mr. Gomez and approached and fired several rounds from a low lethal shotgun. This caused Mr. Gomez to turn northbound toward the other officers who were trying to get to our downed officer. Those officers were threatened by Mr. Gomez as he raised his firearm toward them, and they engaged him, firing several rounds and striking him. Mr. Gomez was transported to an area hospital where he was pronounced deceased. We will have our normal 72-hour brief with more information, but again, we felt it was necessary, given the times that we're in, to come to the community and give them information about this event. We'll show a couple of videos from last night, and then I'll take a few questions. This is Mr. Gomez. Obviously, that was prior to the shooting. I'll take a couple of questions before I turn it over to Deputy Chief Jim Seabach.
Was Mr. Gomez with anybody there, or did he go alone? Have you determined that?
At this point, we believe he was alone. Yes?
Do we know if Mr. Gomez is a Nevada resident or a Las Vegas resident?
He is a Las Vegas, Nevada resident, yes.
Are you prepared for more demonstrations if they occur? I know Councilman Stavros Anthony called for a curfew and the call for the National Guard. Could you comment, is Metro prepared to hold more or monitor more demonstrations, or are you prepared for a curfew?
Right. We fully anticipate more demonstrations. We fully anticipate more protests. Deputy Chief Jim Seabach will get into the details of that and our preparation for that. So the answer to your question short is yes, but he'll get into more details. Yes, sir.
In the terms of calling in either military or more National Guard, whose call is that in the city of Las Vegas, and that it is a little bit unusual that we have a city, county, the way Metro operates? Whose decision is that, and is that something you guys are considering right now?
Right. That decision has been made. We will have National Guardsmen with us tonight. And again, Chief Seabach will get into that. If there are no further questions specifically about the officer-involved shooting, I'll turn it over to Deputy Chief Jim Seabach. Thank you.
Just one on that one. I just wanted to be clear, these are two incidences that were connected to each other, not two separate incidents.
Two completely separate instances, not related.
Thank you and good afternoon. My name is Deputy Chief Jim Seabach. I'm one of the two patrol deputy chiefs over our patrol division. I've worked these protests since they started this past several days. Let me first convey thanks to those in the community, our first responder partners, and all of those that have reached out to us to show support for us and the families of our injured officer. Your thoughts and prayers are much appreciated. I also want to say that what we're seeing is not indicative of the community I've policed over the last 27 years, nor does it look like the community that we all know and love. And what we're seeing is not representative of what we all know Las Vegas to be. I also want to reiterate, as Sheriff Lombardo has said from the beginning, that these events that sparked these protests are inconsistent with the training and protocols of the LVMPD. We are also sickened by what we saw that sparked all of this. As an agency and from the patrol division, we respect everyone's constitutional right to protest. We are here to support you and to keep you safe as long as it's done lawfully. Unfortunately, that isn't what we've been seeing. What we as an agency are consistently seeing over these last few days is that these protests start out peacefully, with all the good intentions for significant change to spark the conversation and hear what people, allow people to express what they want to say. But as the night goes on, the good intended and law-abiding people leave, and those that seek to break the law stay behind. These people are clearly not here for peaceful purposes. They are set on damaging our community, our businesses, and to cause harm to our officers and the people in the area. I watched firsthand from the streets, from our command post, how these criminals are trying to leverage these peaceful demonstrations to their advantage. Over the few days, we're seeing these offenders become increasingly more aggressive. We're seeing them armed with bats, with axes, with glass cutters so they can cause damage to structures. We see them vandalize and throw bottles and rocks and damaging objects in order to cause harm. And the rocks that they're throwing, they're not the kind that you would skip across a lake. Instead, these are the chunks of asphalt, chunks of cinder block that cause significant damage or harm once they're thrown and hit their target. We've had over 25 officers injured from these types of objects the last several days. I'm going to ask them to play a few clips that we've captured. These are just small representations of what we've been seeing. As you can see, you can go ahead and play the video. This is them with the gas cans, going to target one of our police vehicles.
Oh shit. They're shooting motors about people now at the cops. Is Logic Shots up on 6? Oh, what's up, dude? What's up? A bunch of people on the Strat were saying we're right next to you. What's up, man? Oh, sure. Yeah, what's up? They've got.
Those are some of the examples of what my officers are trying to contain, bring to a peaceful resolution, and when they're committing crimes like that, we will be taking them to jail. We have been taking them to jail. As their aggression changes, our resolve only becomes that much more clear. We are simply not going to tolerate this kind of unlawful behavior. We will arrest you, and you will go to jail. And lastly, I want to remind all of those that seek to lawfully protest to make change in our community. Please reach out to us, meet with us. Sheriff Lombardo has demonstrated a willingness to always work with our community. He has provided transparency in all we do. We listen to our community. Our use of force policy was created in conjunction with community members. We recently trained all of our department on the new policy that included, way before these incidents had happened, that includes putting people in a recovery position as soon as possible after an arrest. The goal of LVMPD is to continue to grow and partner with our community. Finally, I just ask for the public to please continue to pray for our officer and all that is going on in our community. Thank you.
Is there any indication these groups are well organized, or I've heard reports of other cities of possibly having out-of-state instigators, or have you identified any of that?
I don't have enough information to answer that. The information that I have seen is the majority are still local. Yes.
We've been down on the Strip. There are obviously thousands of officers down there. If you're out in the suburbs, someone breaks into your house, you call 911. Who comes right now?
We still have officers policing our community, keeping us safe. We've been bringing in officers extra on overtime. We've had great partnerships with Henderson and North Las Vegas, city marshals, Nye County, NHP, parole and probation. All of our partners are coming together to keep Southern Nevada safe.
I know we're coming up on the 6th year since Officer Soldo and Officer Beck were slain. How heavy does this weigh on the department?
This impacts all of our officers, but it also reminds everyone of the dangers of our job. It reminds everyone that the commitment that these officers, these men and women take every day to serve our community, and it does strengthen their resolve to want to do the best that they can. And we have tremendous leadership here at this department that continues to provide the support, the wellness services to our officers and to their families. And we are checking the pulse of the morale every single day to make sure our officers are ready and prepared before they hit the streets.
Sir, how do you differentiate between those people who are there for good intentions and those people who are not?
We allowed these protests to occur. We allowed them to stay lawfully on the sidewalks. Sometimes when it gets too big, they have to go onto the streets. Last night, for example, we made room for them. We tried to block traffic. We even moved officers back away so the protesters could go through, but a contingent remained behind. As I said last night, the crowd was probably around 3,000, and the majority of them started marching peacefully back. But a good number, say approximately 300 to 500, stayed behind. And then they began to do actions such as you saw there. Yes?
How do you find that balance between, there's been a lot of talk about bringing in people with riot gear, stuff like that, how it can potentially escalate situations, more National Guard. How do you find a balance between escalating the situation and then also showing a sign of authority like we're seeing up in Minneapolis, for example?
What I'll speak to here locally is we did provide our officers with protective equipment because of the items that were being thrown. If you notice, on the first day, a lot of our officers were not wearing that gear, and we did have a lot of officers injured. And so, again, we give the people the opportunity to do their constitutionally protected activity lawfully, and when they're not, we provide them an opportunity to stop. We give them a dispersal order, and we ask them to move on, and if not, then we have to take the appropriate action. Yes, in the back?
Now we know these people have fire guns. The department will change their strategy with when you go to these places and have some with these people.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of your question.
Now we know these people have fire guns, right? So you will change your strategy when you go to these places and confront these people.
Our officer safety is always at the utmost. Every day we try to learn lessons learned from the night before on the different tactics that are being employed, and we try to do different tactics in response to keep our officers safe, the community safe, and so we can have a peaceful night. All right. Anything else?
Assistant Sheriff Jones, but regarding the George Jorge Gomez, did he have any priors? Did he have any other interactions with law enforcement that were negative?
Very few, just one prior of one narcotics prior. So thank you again for coming out. We'll have more information for you in the coming days. Thank you.